If you're ready to go, it's 9:30. This is the Western Municipal Water District Regular Board Meeting, April 7th, 2021 at 9:30 a.m. Tammy, could you read our coronavirus protocols, please?
Thank you. In an effort to protect public health and prevent the spread of COVID-19, and in accordance with the Governor's Executive Order N-29-20, the public may view this board meeting online or virtually, as there will be no public location for attending in person. This meeting is live streamed online at WesternMWD.com. As stated on the agenda, members of the public who wish to comment on any item within the jurisdiction of the district or any item on the agenda may make comments virtually or by submitting comments on the district's website. Comments received on the district's website before 4:30 p.m. April 6, 2021 will be made part of the board meeting record. For those participating in the Zoom virtual meeting who wish to provide public comments, please indicate such by using the raise hand feature and we will call on you individually. You can access the raise hand feature by opening the participant list and clicking the raise hand button at the bottom of the list. For those participating by telephone who wish to provide public comment, you may do so by pressing *6 to unmute yourself. If there is more than one caller, you will be identified and called on one at a time. Any public comment will be limited to 3 minutes in duration. I will now take roll call for the meeting. Due to the complexity of conducting this meeting by Zoom and telephonically, I will not be taking roll call for staff members or the public at this time. Director Galliano.
Yes, good morning. Thank you.
Good morning. Director Rizvi.
Good morning. I'm here.
Good morning. Director Gardner.
Good morning. I am here also.
Thank you. Good morning. Director Torres.
Good morning.
Good morning. And President Denstedt.
Good morning.
Good
I am
morning.
present. Thank you.
Thank you. President Denstedt, you have a quorum.
Thank you so much. Welcome everyone to the regular board meeting for the Western Municipal Water District Board of Directors. At this time, we will go ahead with the Pledge of Allegiance. And Craig, I understand we have another employee who's come forward with a volunteering to lead us in that pledge.
We do have that. So if everyone could stand and mute yourself, we have an employee that will lead us in the pledge.
My name is Christian Roman George. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. President Denstedt, do you want to open up public comment at this point?
Thank you very much, Craig. Yes, we'll go ahead and move to public comment this morning. Madam Secretary, is there anyone who has indicated over public comment that they wish to speak?
I am currently not seeing anybody raise their hand. President Denstedt, I did receive 2 public comments prior to yesterday at 4:30 p.m. Those 2 comments were received by Mevesh Mapara, and the second comment was received by Paula Sanders. Those comments were provided to the board members prior to today's meeting and will be made available for any members of the public should they wish to see them, but they will not be read into the record today.
Okay, thank you very much.
Tammy, were those identified as Riverside or Murrieta customers or both?
Director Gardner, one had a street address with no city and the other one did not identify an address.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll now move
Okay.
into taking comment on Zoom. Just a reminder to everyone, if you're making comment, you have 3 minutes. Please mute yourself when you're not making the comment so we don't get feedback. Tammy, do you have any Zoom participants that want to make comment?
I do not have anyone raising their hand at this time.
I can't do it.
Oh, I hear.
Oh,
Hi,
I heard-
this is Barbara Ankley.
Okay.
I can't find the raised hand thing on my screen.
We'll take the old-fashioned hand. If you just want to raise it up, there you go. We see you.
Okay.
We accept all forms of raised hands.
All right.
And if you can't figure out how to hit the button, go ahead and just speak up and we'll call on you. Barbara, if
Okay.
you'd like to go ahead since you have the floor.
All right, thank you. Good morning, President Dinstead, board members, and staff. My name is Barbara Ankley, and I'm a Western customer in the Marietta service area. I've attended many Western meetings over the years and have met many of you, and I thank you for the opportunity to address you this morning. I won't be able to attend the full meeting today due to work, so I have one topic to address for item 4 for this public comment, and then I actually was going to ask if I could address a specific agenda item during this time. May I do that? Because I won't be able to stay to the meeting.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's fine.
Okay, thank you. First, I would like to provide some feedback regarding a comment made at the rate workshop on March 22nd. I joined the meeting around 6:30 and later I listened to the first 30 minutes. Director Torres had asked about the number of public members that were attending. After some discussion, she stated, "I know this is for us. I wonder if this is necessary if no one from the public is here." She was told there were 3 people, and at the end of the meeting, she was told that there were 5. As a customer who cares about water and the work of the district, I want to assure Director Torres that whether it's 3 people or 5 or even 1, the public's participation is important. I'm not sure if she realizes this, but her comments and questions implied that it wasn't. My next set of comments are on agenda item 8A2B, which is the director's request for future board items. I listened to Mr. Ferre discuss how this would work on the March 17th meeting. My first comment is focused on the Public Water Advisory Committee. There is no background information for this discussion, and this leaves members of the public unable to comment because we don't know what it's about. Now, if I missed the details from a prior meeting, my apologies, but some members of the public may have missed the meetings altogether, so it would be helpful to know what's going to be discussed when you have that item listed there. My second comment is the item regarding passing a resolution taking a strong stance against the issues of Metropolitan Water District. I do have knowledge of this topic as I watched the March 3rd and the March 17th board meetings. I have no doubt that Western has the appropriate stance on the prevention of sexual harassment and other forms of harassment and discrimination in the workplace. Western's website shows the DFEH sexual harassment poster, a detailed and thorough non-discrimination harassment policy and complaint procedure, and a disciplinary action policy. What concerns me is there appears to be pressure to make Western get involved in another agency's very serious problems. The public comments made at the March 3rd board meeting surprised me, as I have not seen this done at other water district board meetings that I have been attending. I'm very concerned about ensuring workplaces are safe, that they're free of harassment of every kind, and that they are properly managed to avoid behavior that is harmful to the workforce. As a customer, I want our board, you, however, to focus on your continued work to ensure a safe workplace for Western employees, to operate with integrity and ensure administration of Western's policies. Further, the board's job is that Western continue to deliver safe and reliable water to its customers. I believe the board's efforts need to remain focused on Western. With Director Galliano's representation on the Met board, I have utmost confidence that he will continue to represent Western and its values very well to all other Met board members. Thank you for your time.
Thank you
Thank
for
you
that
for your
comment.
comment.
Are there other members of the
anyone
public?
else?
Sorry.
Yeah, this is Galliano. I really want to appreciate what was just said, and I can guarantee you that the interest of the constituents of Western Municipal Water District will be well looked after in Metropolitan Water District.
Are there
Thank you for those
other
comments.
members of the public that would like to make comment? Okay. We will close public comment, not hearing any other comments.
Okay. We'll go ahead and move on to the consent calendar. Are there any board members who wishes to pull any item of the consent calendar? Madam Secretary, do we have anyone from the public who wishes to comment on a consent calendar item?
I see nobody.
Okay. I'm looking for a motion, folks.
Madam President, I'll move the consent calendar.
I have a motion.
From Director
Looking for a
Gardner.
second.
From Director Gardner.
I'll second it.
From Director
Thank you
Risby.
very much. Madam Secretary, can we go ahead and take a roll call vote on that, please?
Thank you. Director Galliano,
Yes.
Director Risby,
Yes.
Director Gardner,
Yes.
Director Torres,
Yes.
President Dinstedt.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. The motion passes 5-0.
Thank you very much. Moving on to our next item on the agenda, items to be added to the agenda. Mr. Miller, do we have anything to add to our agenda today?
No, there's nothing to add to the agenda today.
Thank you very much. Moving on to our action agenda.
All right.
We'll move on to item 7A. Mr. Miller.
All right, item 7A. So this is, we've brought this back. Derek Kwai is here to give a verbal report. We brought this ordinance back to the board again. When we brought it the first time, the board had asked if the appeals process could be modified to include an appeal to the board of directors. So we've done that, and we're bringing it back. Derek, if you'd like to just give us a real brief summary of the action.
Sure. So this item is for the approval of an ordinance that regulates wastewater discharges. The last time this was updated was in 2013. The revisions are to be made to address changes in laws and regulations. A summary of the changes is included in attachment 1. Very briefly, the general categories of the changes that we're addressing in this update of the ordinance would be revised definitions, prohibition of hydrolysis product in wastewater collection systems. Hydrolysis is otherwise known as chemical cremation. Additional regulations on water softeners, update on sewer connection rules, reference to current approved rates and charges. I must note that this ordinance does not set rates and charges, but simply refers to them as being approved elsewhere. Allows sample collection methods, certain sample collection methods, requirements for monitoring and reporting, an update of the calculation of EDUs to be consistent with Eastern's calculation of EDUs, a violation resolution procedure, an outline of how that's done, and resolution of complaints and appeals. And as Mr. Miller had said, that we have revised this ordinance since it was reviewed at the EOWR committee, that's Engineering Operations and Water Resources Committee, where the board members have requested that the appeals process include an ultimate appeal to the board, and that has been included in the new ordinance. I now invite any questions and request your consideration of this ordinance to protect our wastewater and treatment and collection systems.
All right, thank you, Derek.
Thank you, Derek. Okay, any questions from members of the board?
Make a move, motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and ask if we have any comments from members of the public. Madam Secretary, anybody wanting to comment on this item?
I do not.
I hear an echo.
I see no members commenting or requesting to comment.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll go ahead for the roll call vote.
Thank you. Director Galliano.
Yes.
Thank you. Director Risby.
Yes.
Director Gardner.
Yes.
Director Torres.
Yes.
Thank you. President Dinstedt.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. The motion passes 5-0.
Thank you, directors.
Thank you, Derek. Appreciate that. Moving on to 7B on our agenda, Mr. Miller.
Yes, thank you. Item 7B is an item that was heard at the engineering committee on Monday. We're moving this quickly to meet a deadline for application. So Anita Wilcox is here to present this again, but this action is an application to the PUC for self-generation incentive program and authorize the general manager to enter into a agreement with Tesla to provide backup energy at a pump station. So Anita is here to do a brief presentation. Anita?
Thank you, Craig, and good morning, directors. I'd also like to acknowledge our electrical services manager, Dean Standing Warrior, and a Tesla representative, Lee Murakami. They are both joining me this morning as well. Next slide, please. So as we discussed on Monday, the California Public Utilities Commission has a self-generation incentive program that allows us to apply for funding for the installation of a Tesla battery pack. Other water agencies are also taking advantage of this program, and the specific site that we have identified for Western is the Mockingbird Pump Station. Next slide, please. So the California Public Utilities Commission program allows electrical or gas customers from Pacific Gas and Electric Company, Southern California Edison, California Gas Company, and San Diego Gas and Electric Company to apply for these funds for self-generating technologies. There are several criteria that need to be met for eligibility, including that the location is in a high fire threat area, the location has experienced a public safety power shutoff or is a critical infrastructure, and provides service to disadvantaged or low-income communities. Next slide, please. Tesla has installed over 2.5 million kilowatts of solar and 2 million kilowatts of battery worldwide. Their battery packs specifically allow for emergency backup, peak shaving, and load shifting. So not only does it offer our pump station resilience with energy, but it also gives us an opportunity to store at store at low cost and use at high cost, saving the district money. Next slide, please. Some of our fellow agencies are in this process already. Ventura River Water District is scheduled to start their system any day now. They were waiting for final SCE approval. They did complete their testing in March. So again, they're waiting to have their ribbon cutting ceremony and get the blessing from Edison. San Diego County Water Authority is also in process. They are San Diego Gas and Electric, who unfortunately has a wait list due to the amount of funding available. So they're still waiting to hear that they've received their funding, but they estimate that that will come timely and they will be able to complete their systems by July of 2021. Just to give you an update, Tesla has advised us that Southern California Edison, which is who we would be applying to, is about 70% capacity for their funding, which is the reason for our timely response. Next slide, please. So Mockingbird Pump Station has been the site we've identified. You can see in blue the proposed battery locations, and in red the existing electrical room that those battery locations would support. Overall, the project costs are going to be $2.3 million. Of that $2.3 million, the battery itself is valued at $1.6 million. However, the cost to Western, because of the incentive program, will be $0. The battery output rating is 572 kilowatts. The battery size is 3,080 kilowatt hours. At fully charged, the battery will support our pump station for a total of 11 hours. Average duration of the battery is about 5.6 hours. We are currently on the Edison rate schedule, TOU PA 3D. Assuming a 2% Edison increase year over year, we're estimating annual savings of roughly $51,000 for the district. Again, that is a conservative estimate. As I'm sure the directors and the public have heard, Edison is looking at closer to a 20% increase for this year alone. Next slide, please. And that concludes my presentation for this morning. If there are any questions, myself, Dean Standing Warrior, or Lee Murakami would be happy to answer them. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Anita.
Thank you.
This is, not only does this save us money, but it also puts us in better position in case of any sort of PSPS preventative shutoffs. So this gives us a power supply out there. So we're really happy to bring this to the board for their consideration. Be happy to answer any questions.
I have a question. So you mentioned, Anita, that San Diego is on a backup, like they're not approved. What are the chances for us to get approved?
As I mentioned, the Edison funding is at a 70% capacity, so there's still 30% available. So we have a good chance, if we get in our application timely, that we will be approved.
Perfect. I would like to approve this. I'd like to make a motion.
All right.
I will second.
Thank you. We've got a motion and a
Okay.
second. Any other questions?
Any members of the public that wish to comment?
Not hearing any?
I see
Okay.
none.
We have a motion and a second. Madam Secretary, can we do a roll call vote, please?
Thank you. Director Galliano,
Yes.
Director Rizvi,
Yes.
Director Gardner,
Yes.
Director Torres,
Yes.
Director Dinstead.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. The motion passes 5-0.
Thank you very much. Moving on to our next item, Mr. Miller.
All right, thank you very much. This is item 7C. This is the setting of a public hearing for retail water and sewer rates. So to be in compliance with the Prop 218 process, we need to set a public hearing for June 2nd. We have to do it to meet the timeline requirements. We need to do that today. And so we are going to take this opportunity to summarize how we got to this point. Spencer, if you can go to the next slide. So we'll be presenting some of the background we've gone through, the process, the benefits of why we need to modify our rates. We'll talk about the timeline. We'll summarize the past workshops. We'll talk about the impacts to the customers from the proposed rates. We're also proposing changes to our water budget, and so we'll talk about that also. We'll highlight some of the cost containment measures that we've taken as a staff. We'll talk about the outreach program and then our final recommendation to set the public hearing. Next slide. So with that, we've had three workshops with the board. They were public workshops. We did one in the morning, one in the afternoon, and one in the evening. We had some comment at those. Each one of those workshops was about 2 hours long. We presented a lot of data to the board. And so we'll briefly summarize that. We're going to go through and summarize it again just because we want to make sure that the public knows that we've done our work to fully justify the rates and that we've informed the board and we've informed the public. So with that, we've got several staff members that are going to join in the presentation today. So I will turn it over to Kevin so that we can start going through the process. Kevin?
Great. Thank you, Craig. Good morning, everybody. We are on slide 4 next. And in order to calculate the cost of providing water and sewer service to our customers, staff updated the existing rate models to include the most recently adopted operating budget and to incorporate various estimates, including customer demand, customer growth, the volume and cost of our water sources, expense growth, and third-party wastewater treatment costs. Staff then utilized best practices for rate setting established by the American Water Works Association and worked with legal counsel and a rate consultant to ensure the proposed rates were equitable, sufficient, and legally defendable. Much effort went into a pumping charge study performed by a civil engineering firm specializing in this topic as well. The final product includes updated rate models reflecting the cost of service study and a published report that communicates the methodology and results of the study. Next slide, please. Excuse me. In our previous 3 board workshops, we covered a wide variety of topics, ranging from background topics such as where Western's water comes from and what costs are driving the need for rate adjustments, as well as cost management successes and our outreach and educational efforts. We also looked at proposed changes to the water budget rate structure itself, which Tim Barr will cover shortly, as well as a new method for calculating private commercial fire service. At all the workshops, we talked about the potential cost impact to various customer types and addressed questions raised by board members and members of the public. All of the information presented, including Zoom recordings of the workshops, is available on Western's website. I'll now turn it back over to Craig to address the benefits of the proposed rates. Next slide, please.
So when we look at setting rates, we recognize nobody likes rate increases, but it is extremely important that we continue to be able to provide safe, reliable drinking water. And to do that, we have to maintain our system and maintain our staff. So by setting these rates, we maintain the highest quality of service and the highest quality of water. And sometimes the quality of the water that Western provides its customers kind of goes unnoticed. I know I've had a director that's reminded me several times that we are providing some of the best water in the entire state to our customers. And in fact, some of our commercial customers locate within our service area just because of the quality of the water. So this ensures our ability to continue to serve that high quality water. We also have to keep up with increasing costs. And we'll hear this from customers that, this isn't right during a pandemic, that we shouldn't be raising rates. But unfortunately, and I know the customers don't like this, our operational costs continue to climb. So Met's raising their rates, RPU is raising the wheeling rates, Edison's raising our electrical rates. Everything's continuing to increase in costs, and we have to keep up with that. We also have invested heavily in diversifying our water resources. We've developed a lot of local water supply. That comes at a cost, and we need to keep maintaining our ability to go out and search for that local water supply. It's less expensive than metropolitan and improves our supply reliability, but it comes at a cost, and we need to continue to invest in our system. And then finally, this board has given me direction in the past that we want to maintain rate certainty. So rather than having wildly fluctuating rates that go from 0 to 10 to 12% and back to, we want rate certainty for our customers and especially our commercial customers. So make it predictable, make it sustainable, and make it gradual. And so we think we've been able to provide that. Next slide. So let me now turn it over to Daisy. She's been the one who's been calculating the rates and doing the work behind the scenes. She presented at the workshops. So let her summarize what she presented at the workshops. Daisy?
Thanks, Craig. Good morning, everyone. As a sound check, can everybody hear me?
Yes, you're good.
Thank you. Yeah. So next slide, please. So I presented this slide in our first, second, and third rates workshop. And like Craig and Kevin mentioned, after performing a cost of service study, this table shows the year-over-year increase in an average month's water bill for a median residential customer, both as a percentage and as a dollar impact per month. So as a reminder, in Riverside, this would be at 2.1% for the first year, which is the lowest bill impact we have proposed in recent years. And it is also much lower than what we had projected during the budget process. For years 2, 3, and 4, respectively, the monthly bill would increase between 3.5% and the 4.4%. In Murrieta, the percent bill impact per month for the median residential customer would be 2.2% for the first year, which is also the lowest increase in recent years. For years 2, 3, and 4, for years 2, 3, and 4, the bill would increase between 4.4 and 4.1 as shown on the screen. For Rainbow, the percent bill impact per month for the median residential customer would be 3.5% for the first 2 years, and then 4.5% for the third and fourth year. Next slide, please. Again, this slide was presented in our second and third rate workshop. And as mentioned before, after performing the cost of service study, this table shows the year-over-year increase in an average month's sewer bill as a percentage and as a dollar impact per month as well. And as a reminder for our customers in the La Sierra service area and Western Water Recycling Facility service area, the percent increase would be 3% annually for the 4 years of the proposed rate plan. For Murrieta sewer customers served by the Santa Rosa Regional Resources Authority treatment facility, we are proposing no rate increase effective July 1st, 2021 or year 1. And then for year 2, the monthly bill would increase 1.3%. Then for years 2, 3, and 4, the rate would increase 2% each year. For Murrieta sewer customers served by Eastern Municipal Water District's treatment facility, we are proposing a 3.9% rate increase for the first year, then 4.2 annual rate increase in the monthly sewer rate for years 2, 3, and 4. And now I will hand it off to Kevin for the non-residential impacts.
Great, thanks, Daisy. We are on slide 10. During workshop number 2, we talked more specifically about possible impacts to our non-residential customers, such as commercial, landscape, and agricultural customers. And a brief background was given on each of these customer types in order to explain the variation in the percentage impacts over the 4-year rate setting period. On this slide, we see the impacts for non-residential customers in our Riverside service area. Next slide, please. And on this slide, we see the impacts in our Murrieta service area. All right, next slide, please. I'll now turn it over to Tim Barr. Tim will be reviewing the proposed water budget structural changes. Tim.
All right, let's go to slide 13. So to achieve compliance with new state regulations and to align with many surrounding districts that have water budget rates, we are proposing a change to the indoor budget factor from 60 gallons per person per day to 55 gallons per person per day. This affects residential customers. In addition, in response to customers' positive change in water waste over the last 10 years, cutting over budget water use by more than 40% since 2012, we are proposing the elimination of Tier 5 and the expansion of Tier 3 to cover the current Tier 4. In addition, to account for the volume of local water supply and ensure that there is equity between customer classes, we're making adjustments to Tiers 1 and 2 for commercial customers. And as I stated before, because of the positive change in customer demand in overuse categories, over budget categories, we're making some changes to the charges in the new Tier 3 and Tier 4 as proposed, lowering the cost of the conservation programs and implementing targeted conservation programs. So with that, I'm going to turn it back to Craig to move to the next slide.
All right.
Talk about Western's cost management.
All right, thank you, Tim. Go ahead, next slide. We went into a lot more depth at the workshops, and we'll get into more depth when we actually have the public hearing, but we've had significant management of costs. We try really hard to continue to be more efficient and lower our costs. We embarked on a meter replacement program, which was very significant in lowering costs by eliminating old meters that weren't reading properly. We're getting customers to pay for their true usage of water, which is a good thing. Otherwise, that responsibility for that cost falls on other users. Every user needs to pay their true cost of water. We continue to develop regional water supply partnerships with Riverside and Elsinore. We've been very successful in tapping into local water through these relationships, and we'll continue to look for additional partnership opportunities. As the board knows, we refinanced debt this past summer during the pandemic. We improved our credit rating. We were able to refinance debt at a much lower rate saving our customers about $9 million over the life of that debt. We've also received about $27 million in grants. We continue to be very active looking for grants for all of our projects. We also continue to build local water supply projects. So those are saving money for our customers in the long run. Controlling labor costs is really important. We have lowered our benefits by about 33% by shopping around and being good stewards of our ratepayers' money. And we've done that without lowering the benefits to the actual benefits to our customers. We just lowered the cost. And then we're always looking for operational efficiencies. How do we do things better, cheaper, more efficiently with less resources? So big efforts in cost management, and they're really paying off. Next slide, please. So outreach is an important part of our adjustment process, rate adjustment process. We want to get to the public. We've been out there a lot. There's been a lot of questions from the board to check that we're getting out to the public. And so Sarah will present the next couple slides about our efforts. Sarah?
Good morning, directors, customers, and members of the public joining us today. As introduced, I'm Sarah McDonald, Western's Director of Strategic Communications, and outreach to our customers is critically important. And it's been clear through past direction that the board truly does value this piece of the project. Western is living up to our commitment to bring transparency and accessibility to the process with the goal of building trust with our customers and an understanding of the proposal and why it's necessary. We certainly know, especially now, that water is not the only thing on our community's minds right now, and delivering this news about a potential rate increase is never received with great enthusiasm. So as you know, a comprehensive outreach effort has been established to make sure that communications remains transparent, consistent, and accurate to adequately inform and educate our customers about this proposal. Go ahead and move to the next slide for me. There has been a high-level phased outreach approach that's been shared multiple times through the previous workshops, and updates are also shared and will be shared during the Community and Government Affairs Committee, and we'll be sharing an outreach update to the board at the end of May. The outreach effort is focusing on ensuring that you, as Western's board, our customers, and our stakeholders do have that opportunity to provide input, know where to get information, and know who to contact with your questions. Since Western is enhancing the level of outreach, it also means that there could be more customer attention to this topic. So we're not necessarily designing the outreach to guarantee a specific outcome in terms of the number of comments, whether those comments are positive, neutral, or negative, but instead, success will look like hearing that our customers were informed and had a broad-based awareness of Western's goals, the process, and how to participate in the rate adjustment, and that they're actually taking advantage of those informational opportunities. And lastly, that you, our board, have the information you need to make your decision. Outreach activities are active and have included a variety of multifaceted efforts that you see here on the screen, from those board workshops and board meetings to digital outreach, print promotion, bilingual communications, stakeholder and non-residential customer outreach. This month alone, we are reaching out with letters to the 35 key non-residential water users. We're getting in contact with more than 20 community stakeholders, following up with calls from staff to offer one-on-one meetings. And we're briefing our civic leaders impacted within our service area. Direct customer information sessions are coming this month, and you'll hear more in a couple of slides about those. And Western's also getting out to our local community meetings to share this information and answer questions so that we're meeting customers where they already are, not just asking them to come to us. Through a variety of these strategies, our outreach will exceed those requirements posted through Proposition 218. And the board did hear a full review of all of these tactics in past meetings, so I'm not going to review all of those in detail today, but I do have a few samples for you today that are new. So next slide, please. Proposition 218 does require that Western sends customer notification of any public hearing when there are proposed changes to the water and sewer rates and charges. We must send that no less than 45 days in advance of the public hearing. And we have some specific requirements that must be included in these notices. The first is that the amount of the fee or charge proposed must be included. In our notices, this is included as the rate matrices coupled with references to our cost of service study, plus information about that water budget tier changes that our Deputy General Manager just recapped for you. And those are spanning pages 4, 5, 6, and 7 in our notice. Second, the notice must include the basis upon which the amount of the proposed fee or charge was calculated. And again, we point to that through our cost of service study. Third, the notice must include the reason for the fee or charge. And so we've built a full page dedicated to this, plus again, referencing that cost of service study. And lastly, this notice must have the date, time, and location of the public hearing. So we've put that prominently right on the cover page. So a customer, when they receive it, sees that first. Western is exceeding these requirements by developing 11 customer type specific variations of the notice to make sure that each customer of Western is receiving only the information specific to the rates and charges that they pay as a Western customer. So today in front of you, our board, you have samples of this notice. One's for Riverside, one's for Murrieta. And these two samples really do represent the areas impacting a majority of our customers. The notice is prepared to offer not only what is required under Proposition 218 that I just listed, but also include information critical to helping our customers understand who Western is, what services we provide, and why this adjustment is needed, as well as some of the ways we've been managing our costs and keeping rates as low as possible, and how Western is investing in the system while affirming our commitment to deliver safe, reliable, and high-quality water and sewer services. Finally, this notice does remind customers of our payment assistance programs. We know that's critically important, especially during this pandemic environment. And it does clearly explain how customers can stay informed by reading the full notice, signing up for our email updates, visiting our website, following us on social media, providing us written support or opposition, and participating in that public hearing. These notices have been completed. They're awaiting the board to set the public hearing if you so move. And once this public hearing is set, all of them will be finalized for print and distribution so that they'll be delivered and hit mailboxes by April 16th to 19th, so that we're guaranteeing that our water and sewer customers do receive the notice 45 days in advance of that public hearing. These notices, all 11, are also being translated into Spanish to be made available upon request, and all English and Spanish versions are going to be on Western's website no later than that April 15th date to coincide with the mail drop. We want to make sure they're happening at the same time. So that really recaps the public hearing notice. I have a couple other slides of samples of our outreach. So next slide, please. Speaking of our website, Western has activated a comprehensive suite of web pages dedicated to keeping our customers informed and making sure our information about this rate proposal is easily accessible. WesternMWD.com/2021 proposed rates, which is also accessible through multiple buttons on our homepage, WesternMWD.com. It's designed to be a one-stop shop information hub for this rate adjustment. So should the board take action today, the rate proposal, all the notices and information about the public notice will be posted here by that April 15th date. Customers now can already find responses to frequently asked questions, the cost of service study, how to understand their bill. They can access past meetings and workshop recordings, learn how to offer Western feedback, and see a list of upcoming informational sessions. Next slide. But the notice and our website are not the only ways of getting information to customers. So as I have mentioned, I've detailed numerous tactics in the past. So I wanted to offer you just a few samples of other outreach so you can see what our customers are already starting to receive. Here you have a sample of our bill envelope, which is different than our normal envelope to bring attention to the topic. We also have a series of bill inserts being included, double-sided in English and Spanish. Both of these items are delivered to all of our retail customers and have been customized each month since February to promote the workshops, the rate proposal itself, this board meeting, and a future public hearing should it be set. A sample social media post is included on this slide, showing we've been asking for customer feedback. And to give you just a quick taste of our digital outreach efforts, since November, Western has posted more than 130 posts related to the value and cost to provide service, along with understanding your bill, budget, and the rate proposal. These posts have received more than 81,000 impressions, have had 2,800 engagements, and nearly 500 link clicks. So it's just to show you we are getting the information out. In addition to these samples you have in front of you, we heard more and more through survey data that our customers are looking to receive information through email. So a series of email distributions have been delivered to more than 18,000 people. With each distribution, these email communications are receiving an open rate of nearly 40%. And to give you a little bit of context, this exceeds the government average, which is about 26%. So it does show us that customers are interested in this topic specifically. Next slide. I'd like to conclude my remarks today by reminding the board and our customers that we are hosting a series of customer information sessions. So our past workshops and this meeting are not the only chance for our customers to learn full details about the proposal. These sessions are designed specifically for our residential customers to offer a virtual educational opportunity to meet with staff and hear more about the adjustment. These sessions are designed to build that understanding with our customers while also offering an opportunity to get their questions answered. We are hosting 3 sessions, 2 on April 22nd and 1 on April 28th. While each session will be focused on a specific region within our service area, and customers are encouraged to attend the meeting related to their region, whether that's Riverside or Murrieta, customers are welcome to attend any of the sessions. So with that, that really covers at somewhat of a high level of the outreach that's ongoing and will continue to move forward. And so with that, I'll turn it back over to our General Manager, Craig Miller, for the next slide.
Next slide, Spencer. All right, thank you, Sarah. Thank you, staff. That concludes our presentation today. We'd be happy to answer questions. Our recommendation to the board is to set the public hearing for Wednesday, June 2nd, 2021 at 6 p.m. to consider water and sewer rate adjustments. President Denstad, we're concluded with our presentation.
Greg, I have a question.
Thank you.
Okay.
Right ahead.
Okay. So as we were discussing that Southern California Edison is planning to increase their rate up to 20%. So is it, does these proposed rates include that as well, that they might have that increase this year or next year?
We do have a rate proposed, well, not proposed. We've put a rate adjustment in for Edison. Kevin or Daisy, I don't recall offhand the number that we picked. We didn't pick 20% because that's a rumor. We haven't seen that in writing.
I'm sure.
Kevin, how did we pick an Edison rate for growth for the next 4 years?
Yeah, gladly. Well, for the first year, between what we have as our current rates, unfortunately, the first year you always have to kind of catch up, and there's been a number of Edison rates of recent that have been significant. So we've put in a 15% increase to get us to year 1. And then from year 1 to year 2, I believe we added about a 5% increase. Daisy could correct me there. Maybe we're being a little too optimistic, but that is one reason why I think we talked about in one of the workshops, either 2 or 3, about the pass-through provision. If we get significantly surprised by Edison in the energy rate increase, we would bring that back to the board to exercise the pass-through provision, if needed, if significant, really.
Okay, thank you.
Craig,
Any other questions?
I'm sorry, I do have one. We have a couple of things going on here. One is some structural changes that will affect the tiers on the residential side in particular. And that's actually going to have a downward trend, I would think, on overall cost of service for residential customers, especially those who are large water users, whether for whatever reason they're getting up in their water budget or exceeding the budget. And then we have the proposed changes to the actual rates, which would tend to drive costs up for customers. Do the tables that were presented here, and I presume will be presented at the future customer meetings, reflect the downward impact of the structural changes that we are proposing? Or is that just a straight calculation of if everything stays the same and the rate increases X%, your monthly cost will go up X dollars?
That's a good question. Kevin, could you address how we came up with our average customer for the table, the numbers in the table?
Right. So the numbers in the table, Director, are all reflective of an in-budget customer because that's our goal. You know, we work very hard to help our customers be in budget, and over 75% of the bills that go out are in budget. And so the impacts that you see for both residential and commercial are an in-budget customer. Now, you are correct that if a person is exceeding their budget, instead of Tier 3 being 25% of the water budget, it's now 54% of the outdoor budget, which could sound a little confusing, but it's basically the bottom line is Tier 3 is bigger, and it encompasses not only the former Tier 3 or former Tier 4, but it's Tier 3 is now Tier 3 and Tier 4 combined. It's bigger. So not that we're encouraging people in any way to be inefficient, but it does help those that are a little bit over budget and just need a reminder to get to adjust their irrigation or to take advantage of our many services that could help a customer identify leaks or irrigation controller issues and get back into budget. Because that's our goal. That's our goal. But it is true, it will be helpful for those that are out of budget, but we didn't reflect that in the tables.
Okay, thank you. I do think it's important that we talk about the impact of the structural changes. There are things like if you have a swimming pool and you need to drain it and change the water, which happens every few years, that's going to bump you up in a tier. There's just no way that it couldn't if you're using normal amount of water, for other uses. So this would keep that from being as big a shock if that happened, or if you do have a water leak, or you have not changed your irrigation timers as you ought to. I think this is worth pointing out to our customers because it will benefit those who have the very highest bills, although they probably shouldn't have such a high bill, but if they do, this will be of some benefit to them. So just a point. Thank you.
Director, maybe I could mention too,
sure,
promote a few things. If you do have a water or a swimming pool refill, we do have an adjustment for a pool refill. In other words, we can accommodate that if it ends up meaning you go over budget. If you go over budget because you refill a pool, we'll put that water back into Tier 2, for example. And also I want to promote our leak credit because who plans a leak? Nobody. So you get surprised, you see a leak, you correct it. If the leak occurred within the last two bills, we'll go back and recast that water or rebill that water into Tier 2. In other words, if you got into Tier 3, Tier 4, Tier 5 because of a leak, show us that you corrected it. You need to be back in budget. That would be a way of proving that you corrected that leak or receipts and things like that. Then our customer service staff will recast or rebill that water into Tier 2. So you're not punished. Again, our entire goal is to have every customer be very aware of their water usage in order to use it efficiently. And so our goal is not to punish people simply because a mystery leak showed up or they had to take care of their pool.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. I might just add a little bit more on there, Director. You're very in tune with our customers and what comes up on social media and what Kevin deals with in customer service. We're able to adjust the budgets because we've seen a change of behavior over the last decade, because our customers are getting used to the budgets. We have a huge percentage of our customers stay within budget. And we think that it's appropriate now that we kind of modify that budget to mirror our customers' good water usage. And, you know, the message to our customers is stay within budget. But the real benefit of these budgets is in a time like this year when it's very dry in the state, it's a second year that's been dry in the state, we don't have to implement rationing or other things at this point because we already have budgets in place. And we don't have to go to our customers and ask them to cut back. We just ask them to stay within their budget. So it positions us very well for the dry hydrology that we get 7 out of 10 years in Southern California, and our customers have responded very well to the budgets. And so this is kind of I guess it's a nice thing that we're doing for the customers, and I agree with you that in the rate hearing we need to make sure that we articulate that without encouraging customers to go out of budget.
Right. Yeah, thank you.
Any other comments from board members, questions?
Yes, I have a couple of questions. It's difficult to have a conversation with my colleagues with the way the screen is set up. I don't know if that we can ever do some type of, like actual Zoom. So I do have just a few questions and then some comments. Our general manager stated today that we serve the best water, which is encouraging and it's a great thing. But I want to remind us that that's our duty. It's not a perk that we serve good water. It's our duty to serve good water. We're being paid to serve good water. So while it is a good thing, I don't think that's a reason to raise rates. I did want to start off with thanking Sarah McDonald. She has done a phenomenal job in outreach. I believe, like she says, it's outside of the legal requirements, but also really outside of what probably other agencies are doing. But unfortunately, I don't know if it's actually reaching our customers the way it is. To the public comment we had today, my concern is not that we only have 3 or 5. My concern is that if we don't have any, we should move the meetings or have more meetings. I am about more outreach, more. So I'm sorry if my comment was misunderstood, but it is absolutely not because it doesn't matter. It is because it matters the most to me. So those are just a couple of I do want to thank Kevin and Tim for all the work that they've done to restructure, as Director Gardner mentioned. That restructuring is important to highlight not because it's a nice thing that we're doing for our customers, but because we're able to, and we do need to understand how that works, so that, like Director Gardner said, if there is some sort of shift or like we're draining a pool and refilling, whatever the case is, customers actually understand why their rates are going up. I don't think that was the case in Orange Crest. I don't believe that all these customers whose bills went up were emptying their pools and refilling, but I do know that the understanding of why they end up in a different tier is incredibly important. And so I think the work that Tim and Kevin have done is noteworthy. So thank you for that. I do have a few questions. We have outlined, we're in the middle or finishing off a devastating pandemic, devastating even to us, right? We have about $500,000 in water debt. It's devastating to those people. It's devastating throughout the state. My question is, if we've done so many things to help, to help the customers and our costs and making sure that we, are fiscally conservative, why in the middle of a pandemic, or yes, I know it's ending, but it's going to continue to hurt us, especially those customers that have not been able to pay their bills. Why in the middle of a pandemic do we find it so important to raise our rates? Why couldn't, when I know
we haven't even had the conversation of how we're going to make those customers whole. We not only have we not had that conversation, we're also not talking about how we're going to. The only thing we're talking about is how to hurt them further. So that's how it seems to me, and I guess an answer from staff on that would be helpful, because that's how I see it. We haven't had the conversation of how we're going to help the customers who are hurting because of this pandemic. So why are we talking about how to hurt them further? If I'm seeing that wrong, I absolutely would love some clarity.
Sure, I'd be happy to address that. We've had this conversation several times. In fact, on a monthly basis, I report back to the board on our on the past due bills, and also report extensively on the efforts that we're taking to help our customers. We've been lobbying back in DC, we've been lobbying in Sacramento, we've been working with the city, we've been working with the county to develop programs to have rate relief for our customers. We're prohibited by Prop 218 to make our customers whole, as you said, Director. That's against the law. So we're going to try and find outside funding for our customers. And we've had extensive discussions, and that money is starting to kind of show up now at the City of Riverside and the County of Riverside. That program's been developed and advertised to our customers. It's renter relief program right now, but there's going to be other buckets of money that come into the area. So I guess I disagree with your comment that we haven't done anything. I think we've done a great deal of work to try and help our customers out. And then we've also offered payment programs for those customers. We're not shutting anyone off. We're not charging late fees to those customers. So I think there's a lot that's been done for the customers.
Sorry,
well, and
you misunderstood my question. What I was saying is, as a board, we haven't talked about how we're going to make making them whole, I don't mean that we're going to pay for their bills, but they're hurting, Craig. They're hurting. I know that you have been working diligently since day one, since we put on the moratorium. But they are hurting, and now we're asking them to hurt further. That's what I want you to answer. That's what I wanted you to answer. Excuse me for not making myself clear.
Well, and I want to just go ahead and make a comment here as well. We did have a meeting just actually a few days ago with an entire congressional delegation and some of the policymakers on the federal side to try to see how we were going to better establish those assistance monies that have been approved by the federal government, that have been pushed over to the state, that are not being pushed to our agency directly for mitigating our customers' needs. And so we've made it very clear with our Ferguson group back in DC that this is probably to the benefit of our customers, for the agencies to be able to directly monitor the assistance funds that are being allocated by the federal government that were approved at $1.9 trillion. And we're hoping that that is in fact what we are advocating for. And we're hoping that that's in fact going to happen, because it's going to get tied up at the state. It's going to be put for other resources, and it is not going to make our customers whole, which is the intention of what the government has tried to move those funds forward. So Director Torres, I can assure you that myself, as well as staff, as well as our federal lobbyists, have made all of our congressional delegation, Congressman Calvert and Congressman Takano, we have met with them directly to voice our concerns about how the state is doing its allocation of those funds in order for us to do a direct assist to our customers so that it doesn't get misallocated, misappropriated, or used for other purposes.
Thank you, Thank you, President Dunstad. That still doesn't answer my question, but I really do appreciate those efforts. You have no idea how much. What I'm asking is, how can we, in good faith, when we know people are currently hurting, then ask them to continue to hurt by raising their rates? That was my question. I'm sorry if I came off differently. Okay, well, since we don't have an answer for that, I want to, I think I understand why. I understand that MET is raising rates. I understand why we need
to have this conversation. So I'm actually prepared to make a motion to set the public hearing, but I want it to be contingent on having 3 more public hearings in the evening in my division alone. That's my motion.
I have a question, Gracie. So these are not the same meetings that's been proposed in, I think
No.
there's 2.
No, from my understanding right now, there's one, there were
Riverside.
3. Yeah, there were 3. One is in Riverside in the evening, and one is in Marietta in the evening. I'm asking for 3 more in the evening in my division. If other directors would like to advocate for that in their division, that's fine. But I specifically would like my area to have a better outreach than what we've seen. That's my motion.
Okay. Let's go ahead and see if they have any comments from members of the public on this item. And remember, folks, we're happy to take your questions in regards to this. If we could have staff put up the 3 dates that were proposed for the public outreach to discuss these items in detail. And I'm sorry, I apologize, I did not recall the slide. There it is. Thank you very much. So if we could remind people that that's what is proposed right now for continued customer engagement, for them to attend and ask all the questions that they like. Today's intention is solely for setting the date for the public hearing for, I'm sorry, June 2nd. Is that correct, staff? Mr. Miller?
Sorry, what was your question?
Today's action is simply to set the date of the public hearing, which is set for June 2nd. Is that correct?
That is correct. And I would also like to add to this slide that we actually have 5 information sessions set up. So there's the 3 that you see, and we will also be at the Woodcrest Mac and Raglan on the agenda to make presentations.
And Madam President, if I may, just real briefly, for the purposes of Prop 218, the law requires that the board authorize or not authorize issuing the notice. So if there are issues about how many public town hall meetings are taking place in particular divisions, that's certainly a separate issue that can be addressed, but we wouldn't want to make the Prop 218 notice contingent on anything, because then someone could come back later and say, well, the entire hearing and notice are void because you didn't have these hearings, or you had them, together or apart. So under the 218 process in the government code, it says you either authorize a notice or not, but you can certainly have a separate action on direction or action as to how many meetings and where.
Can we have that now? It's not. I mean, it's not in the agenda. So how would we vote on something like that? I just want my ratepayers to be taken care of. So that's my only concern.
Sure. Item 2 says direct staff to mail and publicize the appropriate notice of the public hearing. So, I mean, I don't think that would be something that would need action by the board, but it could come under.
I mean, I am learning that unless it's voted on, a lot of these things I request don't tend to happen. So that's my concern. That's why I put it in a motion.
Hey, can we go ahead and I've made a call to the public. Sorry, folks. I've made a call to the public to see if there's anybody that has any questions or comments. So why don't we go ahead with that? Madam Secretary, is there anybody on the call who has indicated over Zoom they'd like to comment on this item?
Thank you, President Denstedt. Yes, we have Sonia Alamdar. Sonia, would you care to speak?
Hi, yes. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. So thank you guys so much for having this board meeting during working hours regarding a really important issue, rates. During any other time of year, but especially during a pandemic. So prior to, I've asked at a couple, during a couple conversations I've had with members of WMD and at a public meeting, if I could get the actual cost for the rebranding initiative Western has been looking at. And what I mean by that is what it has cost staff in staff time to pursue that avenue, since we're looking at a rate increase. I've never gotten an answer to that, and I've gotten a lot of spin, but not actual numbers. Secondly, I'm disappointed to see that Gracie didn't get a second on having additional meetings for this, because yes, there has been some public outreach, but it's not being heard by the public. I don't know what's going on with the logisticals of the social media outreach, but there's not a lot of communications, there's not a lot of interest, or it's just not being, I don't think it's hitting the target audience. I know prior to, I've mentioned this to Ms. McDonald, that I don't think that their algorithms are hitting actual customers within the region. So I would just hope that the board, when this comes to a public hearing, votes no on the water rate increase. You know, everything, I heard a lot during this meeting and prior meetings how much money Western is saving. I hear that time and time again. It was mentioned today several times. So if that's happening, then why are we having to consider a rate increase at this time? You know, maybe not pay the exorbitant amount of salaries to these employees that in the private sector don't make that much money. So I hope to see more actual public outreaches. I look forward to seeing them at the next Woodcrest MAC meeting when that happens. And I hope that the June 2nd meeting is actually in person, as all of these public hearings should be currently now. If I can go to the county board meeting and then go to a public meeting in person, I should definitely be able to come to my water district and be able to comment in person. So thank you.
Thank you for your comments today. Madam Secretary, is there anyone else for public comment on this item?
I see no other hands raised, President Denstedt.
Director Denstedt, I failed to mention that. I had it on my list and I missed it. The plan is to have a hybrid meeting on the 2nd. We would be both Zoom and allow for public to comment in person. So as the tiers change, you know, we're trying to keep up with the tiers in our planning process. We don't know what's going to happen by June 2nd, but right now our plan is that we will allow public comment in person or on Zoom.
So, Greg, I have a question. So, it says that Riverside has 2 sessions, and then there is 2 sessions at different community in Riverside. So that's almost 3 sessions, right?
That'd be 4 sessions. We have Marietta would be 5.
3 sessions in the night. Yeah, 3 sessions in the evening time, right?
Correct.
No, Riverside only has 1 session
No.
in the evening.
Oh, yes. Sorry, one of them, on the 22nd, we're trying to hit people that are home during the day and people that are home in the evening. So we have a 10:30 session in the morning and a 7:30 session.
Yes, but you only have 1 evening session. I'm specifically asking for 3 evening sessions
And then
that
the
are
other,
not,
the other 2 sessions are both
Mac
in
or
the
the
evening.
Raglan.
Woodcrest Mac and Raglan would both be in the evening. So we're going to have 3 evening sessions and 1 morning session.
Are we having a workshop at Raglan and the MAC?
We're on their agenda to present.
Okay, so you're going to speak for 5 minutes.
Well, our plan is to speak for more than 5 minutes, but they haven't allocated
I went to
time.
the last Raglan and the last MAC, and it wasn't any more than 5 minutes. I'm asking, I'm sincerely asking if you're presenting. Is it going to be a workshop? I would just like 3 more. That's all I'm asking for. And in my division, because that's where my responsibility lies. Other directors can advocate for their own.
Any other comments from board members?
Madam President, I think it's important that we remember the the purpose of today's meeting is solely to set a public hearing and direct the appropriate mailing to occur 45 days prior to that hearing. We're not making any decision on rates today. And I think we should move forward with that, and I will make a motion that the board set a public hearing for June 2, 2021 at 6 p.m. in the evening to consider water and sewer rate adjustments and direct staff to make the appropriate Prop 218 mailings at least 45 days in advance.
But my motion is still on the floor.
There wasn't a second.
There wasn't a second.
I'm sorry, you didn't call for a second. I didn't know if that was the.
I will make that as a substitute motion if there is a second for the original motion.
So, Madam President, I'd recommend that just to close the loop that you call for a second to Director Torres's motion.
Okay. Is there a second for Director Torres's motion?
I'll second it because I still believe that there are 3 meetings going on, right? So how we describe these meetings and how we work, we can do it at another meeting. But for me, I still think there are 3 meetings in the evening already set up.
And just to reiterate, the information in the board packet about the hearings and when they're taking place, on what dates and where, is informational. It's not part of what's being proposed today. What's being proposed today is what's and the notice out.
Yeah, Mr. Ferre, I have a question. I understood the motion to be 3 additional hearings.
3 additional workshops in my division that will be in the evening. You know what, 2? Let's make
You're
it 3
on
total.
mute, Gracie. We can't hear you.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, no, sorry. I was asking for 3 additional workshops in my division, not hearings, and but I'll make it 2, 3 total if that's what matters. But that's my motion was to set the public hearing and the mailing notice contingent upon 3 extra workshops in my division in the evening. Yeah, or 3 total. Yeah, I'll amend to 3 total if that helps Director Risby.
And I'm sorry if I caused some earlier confusion, but this item is on the agenda as to whether or not to set the public hearing and to follow the Prop 218 process. If it were to be made contingent upon having particular workshops, my fear is that someone would challenge that as whether or not you can move forward at all is based on whether or not those meetings take place and how.
And that's actually my goal, Jeff. I absolutely hope that we make sure we hold those workshops so that the public hearing can happen.
But then the concern would be, Director Torres, is there could be some question as to when they took place, how many showed up, whether or not there was appropriate notice of the public. But to your earlier point, I was just going to say, this is an item to discuss whether or not to set the hearing, and then there was information about the hearing, the workshops, and outreach. So I would agree with you, Director Torres, that if you want to make a separate, we should make a separate motion about having particular workshops and public outreach more than what's being presented. I think that would be appropriate here today to answer your earlier concern. I'm just concerned about having that as part of the motion to send the notice out at all.
I understand. So if we approve to set the hearing, I could still have another motion.
Correct.
For what I want in the outreach in my division.
Correct. Today, because this is all part of whether or not the notice is being sent out, and the public's aware of the fact that the issue of the public outreach is front and center.
Well, I help me with this, Jeff. I can't, in good faith, vote for this unless I know that it's going to happen. So can I make my motion first before I set before we vote on the public hearing?
Sure. There's a motion on the floor right now and a second that we've been talking about. If you wish,
I will withdraw my motion
Okay.
as stated, and I will make a new motion to request of staff to hold three total public workshops in my division in the evening to better outreach to the communities that I serve.
And we have a motion for 3 additional workshops, and I want to make sure I understand what you're saying. So you're saying now you want 6 total workshops other than the ones that are proposed. Am I understanding that correctly? On top of the curriculum?
Other than. There are 3 right now that I'm looking at on my screen. I would like 2 more in the Riverside area, if that's more clear.
Okay, so I just want to make sure I understand what you're saying.
Sure.
So you're seeing the 3. So we see the Riverside on Thursday, April 22nd from 9 to 10:30 in the morning. Riverside, April 22nd from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Marietta on Wednesday, April 28th at 6 to 7:30 p.m. The Raglan one that's going to be done, I'm not sure.
It's not a workshop though, so we're just on the agenda to give information.
But if we expand, so go ahead, sorry to continue. If we expand that and give a bigger presentation and ask questions, don't you think that would be another meeting and not spending staff time to have a separate meeting, separate notices?
I mean, that can count as one. I'm guessing if that's what they do. But right now, as it stands, there is only 1 workshop proposed. I would like 3 workshops, not.
Directors, if I can jump in and add a little bit of clarity to the presentations that we will be providing to those community meetings. So we are more formally agendized. So our usual participation, we're sort of just a standing item as an update, not an official presentation. So during April will be official presentation at the Raglan meeting, which gives us 10 to 15 minutes to present and an opportunity to answer any questions. And that same format will apply in May at the Woodcrest MAC meeting. So that helps you understand what those meetings will look like.
Okay, well, that actually does give me clarity, and I would continue to ask for the same thing then. Our workshops tend to be an hour and a half long. And so 15 minutes doesn't sound like it will cover what our workshops do.
And I'm sorry, Director Torres, when you say workshop, do you mean the outreach meetings or a meeting of the board? Because
no, just outreach meetings.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because that'd be otherwise hard to schedule and get a quorum. Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the customer information sessions. You expect those to be 15 minutes long, Sarah?
The customer information sessions, as you see on your screen, are scheduled for an hour and a half with opportunity for presentation. We'll have a panel discussion and some time for questions.
Okay, then my motion stands.
Okay, we have a motion for what I'm understanding is the 3 that are currently on the screen as I'm looking at them, plus the Woodcrest, the Raglan, and then an additional 3. Is that what I'm understanding?
An additional 2, so a total of 3.
Okay, but
I'm sorry, I'm not counting the Raglan and the MAC as sessions. So, but yes, so an additional 2 is what that's all I request.
2 additional customer information sessions in Riverside.
Thank you, Jeff.
So that would be 5 total, and then the Raglan and the Woodcrest.
Right. And I hope they're going to other MAC meetings, not just those 2. I hope they're going to others.
I'll second them.
Thank you.
Gracie, I'm still unsure of how, I haven't been to these MAC meetings, but I still think that we can work and give some time to that instead of having a separate meeting for our, for our staff, for everybody's time. But you guys decide better of how do you guys want to have a meeting in your area.
Thank you so much.
So I have a motion by Director Torres and a second by Director Rizvi for the addition of 2 additional evening workshops to be held prior to the public hearing. We already have 1 evening session on April 22nd at 6 p.m. Is that correct?
Right, but I mean, just to focus the motion is to have 2 additional customer information sessions in Director Torres's division. Is that right, Director Torres?
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Ferre.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm having a couple glitches with my Zoom. I apologize, it keeps flipping my camera off too. Okay, so I want to make sure that we're clear on what the motion is and that we've had a second at the understanding of what that motion is, because it's changed now a couple of times. So I want to make sure that we're all understanding. Madam Secretary, are you understanding what the motion is so we can call for a roll call vote on it?
I would like to reiterate that I believe the motion is to have 3 evening sessions in Director Torres's division, Division 2. 1 session is already scheduled for April 22nd at 6 p.m. with 2 additional workshops to be scheduled in the evening in Director Torres's division.
That's correct.
So can I ask a question? Because I want to make sure I understand.
Yeah.
On these particular workshops, is it then the intention that staff are not doing these virtually and that we're doing them in person out in the public, and they're going to be within your individual division?
I am going to defer that to staff. I don't know what COVID is going to look like during that time. So if they can be in person, great. If they can be a hybrid, great. If they can only be virtual, then that's what it has to be. I'll defer that to staff.
Well, I'm just trying to make a distinction because you keep saying in your division. If it's virtually, it's kind of go everywhere. So I guess I'm trying to understand what you mean in particular by your division and how that's going to be conducted. Because if it's virtually, we don't have any way of distinguishing how that's going to particularly fall just in Riverside. So I just want to make sure I understand what it is that's being asked of staff to do.
That's wonderful. That's a wonderful question. I guess then let me ask you why it says Riverside, Murrieta on the screen that I'm looking at.
Director Torres, it would be my understanding that because the Riverside area and the Murrieta customers pay different rates because we have different source of water. So there is a different calculation based upon those. So we don't want to confuse the members of our customers that we talk about those rates at the same workshop addressing both customers at the same time, because we would confuse the rates because one pays one rate and one pays another rate based upon.
Thank you. That's what I understood. That's what I understood also. So what I would like is to have 2 more of the ones that say Riverside Session 2. So they're addressing Riverside customers, Riverside rates. However they are held, I will defer to staff. That's what I'm asking.
Okay, and Director Rizvi, is that still your second to support the additional to make it, I guess, 5?
I'm still suggesting that, you know what, we want a motion to set the rate on June 2nd. So we want to move forward. As Director Torres want 2 more additional. However, the staff decides, however she decides with, however it works, virtually, personally, it doesn't matter. The main purpose of this thing is we need to set proposed rate meeting on June 2nd, and we move forward with that.
Are you seconding?
Okay, so I want to make sure. I want to make sure that we're.
I did second it, so we just have to move forward with it. We cannot be in this.
Okay, so Madam Secretary, I hope that gives you clarity, and I hope legal counsel and staff understand what the motion is moving forward. And I'll go ahead and call for the roll call vote on the additional meetings.
Before we go to the vote, could I ask a question of staff? I don't mean to put you on the spot, but do you have any feel, Craig, or whichever one of your management folk you'd like to turn it over to, what the cost, the staff cost of an evening meeting like this would be? My concern, I agree with Director Torres. I love outreach, and I would love to see us, reach out as much as we can. But my experience so far has been, despite really significant efforts, not just by the district staff, to get people to come to the workshops that we've had so far, and today's meeting, and we've had daytime and an evening session, and turnout has been low. I want to make sure that it's worth the effort. I don't know, and both Director Torres and I used our own social media pages to try to stir up additional information so that people knew about the meetings in hopes that they would participate. And yet our turnout has been really low. So I'm just trying to get a little bit of
Director Gardner, actually, Director Gardner, the turnout was the best when you and I were involved. That's my concern, is that unless you and I do outreach, we only get 3 or 4 people. So we really just need a better effort. That's my concern, is that every time you and I got involved, the turnout was, the best meeting was the first one, and that's when you and I decided to use our social media platforms. So that just for reference. But thank you for your question. It's a good question.
Yeah, Director Gardner, the cost number is, I don't have that. We would have to think about that some more. There is a lot of staff effort that goes into preparing the presentations and planning the effort for those of us that would be there to present, and it'll be the same staff members that'll present in these workshops. So you'll have, 6, 7, 8 people, 9 people that are attending. Almost all of us are salary employees, so we're not paying overtime to do that, but there is considerable time and effort in preparing the slides, discussions beforehand, planning, and then downloading afterwards.
That's awesome. The slides are going to be different for each session. I imagine they would have been the same.
And we go through and we customize it for every presentation.
They're going to be different at 3 different Riverside meetings, Craig?
Same numbers. We just have to modify it based on which customers are going to be there and how long we have.
Okay, so it would essentially be the same presentation as the one on session 2.
Yes.
Okay, so the significant amount of time, it wouldn't apply to these 2 extra sessions. All right. Thank you for the question, Mike. I think it made it very clear that they'll be ready and they're salaried, so it's not like, it's not like the rate increases is going to go towards that. So.
Is there any other questions that are still out there before we call for the vote? Okay. And just as an outline comment, I believe, Director Torres, and for the rest of the board, that our public outreach, our strategic communication plan is in fact working, and that's why we've had the customer response that we have had. That's why we've had people that have participated. So I do believe that our outreach is working, because in the many years that I've been serving on this board, we have not had as much participation as we have in the past. It was been very limited in the past. So I actually believe that because of the participation that we've had and the number of people that have shown up, our customer outreach is working exactly how it's supposed to be working. And we can't force people to be interested in the issue. Sometimes they just don't really want
They don't
to
get
get
interested, huh?
involved. They just don't. They just don't get involved. And I have a number of customers that I talk to on a frequent basis that just don't have the time or want to get involved in the issue at that point. So with that, we'll go ahead and call for the vote, Madam Secretary.
Thank you. Director Galliano.
I'm confused.
I just want more sessions done in my area, if, if you're so obliged.
Well, Tracy, I support that, so I'll vote yes.
Thank you.
And I do agree with Brenda that the outreach is working, and that's why the numbers of people that show up is so low. So I'm very supportive of staff's efforts, and
As am I.
I certainly understand where you're coming from, Gracie.
Thank you, Director.
Director Risby.
Yes, and whatever Dawn said, I agree wholeheartedly.
Director Gardner.
Yes.
Director Torres.
Yes, and I did start my comments by saying that Sarah is doing an exceptional job, unlike I'm sure we've seen at Western. So please don't take this personally. I'm asking staff not to take it personally. I just want to do what's right for my customer base. So thank you for everything.
President Dinstedt.
And I will go ahead and vote no, but I am definitely thinking that the sessions that we've already planned are in support of our customers, and the outreach that we've done to this point has been sufficient. So I'm going to go ahead and vote no on that.
Thank you. The motion passes 4-1.
Okay, thank you very much. Folks, we still need to get a motion to set the actual mailing of the notice.
So the
Madam Chair, I had made that motion, but we got sidetracked. I don't believe we had a second.
I'll second it. That was the original point.
Thank you very much. Mr. Ferrer, are you satisfied with the legal
Yeah.
requirements on that? Okay, and everybody understands that this is a mailing of the notice, is that correct?
It's items
Yeah.
1 and 2, as Director Gardner mentioned. Recommendations 1 and 2.
Okay, thank you very much.
Correct.
Madam Secretary, can we go ahead and have a roll call vote, please?
Thank you. Director Galliano.
Yes.
Director Risby.
Yes.
Director Gardner.
Yes.
Director Torres.
Yes.
Director Dinstedt.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. The motion passes 5-0.
I'm going to have to excuse myself. I have an appointment, and it's going to take me about a half hour to get there. So I don't have anything to add. Metropolitan Water District is primarily focused right now on hiring a new general manager, and Chino Basin has another court appearance at the end of the month. So that concludes any comments that I would have.
Thank you, Director
Thank you,
Galliano.
Director.
Appreciate it. Okay, Mr. Miller, can we move on to reports?
Yes, we can. I've disappeared off of Zoom. My computer just died, so I'll do it verbally. Let's start off with a report from the General Counsel.
Thank you, Craig. I don't have anything else to add today. I would just mention in response to the public comment that the Brown Act prohibits us from having a full discussion of these items back when the request is first made. But now it's on the agenda to discuss potential future board items. And then if they move forward, there would be information in the board packet. So we're following, and I believe I explained that was the process. The Brown Act simply doesn't allow the board to get into more detail until these items are first discussed. So that's all I have today. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Frey. For the General Manager report, I have several things today. Let me start off with the COVID-19 update. So this is the board meeting where we do this verbally. Next board meeting we'll have a PowerPoint presentation. On that PowerPoint presentation will also include the past due balances based on division. We had a request from Director Torres and Director Gardner to show that, so we'll have that slide available next meeting. Great news on coronavirus for the region. Riverside County has administered its 1 millionth dose on March 31st, so vaccines are going great. The county has entered the orange tier. What does that mean internally? So our safe return to the office plan under the orange tier starts bringing employees back into the office in a phased approach. So we'll be noticing that to our employees on Monday so they can start preparing for that. It also, under that plan, brings board members back into the boardroom. And so our plan right now would be that on May 5th, we would have the board members come back again to the office. So I will plan for that, and I'll be taking any input from the board members if they have comments about that. As far as our past due balance, we continue to hover at about $600,000. It's kind of plateaued there for the last 3 months and about 900 customers. So things are moving. Things are certainly looking better. We've had no cases of coronavirus with staff, I think, for a month. So we're very encouraged, and I want to thank our staff for being so diligent about keeping all of our best practices in place. Another update I want to give is on the Marietta North Well number 2. So this is another really good news story. So North Well number 1 was decommissioned in 2017 because the well was so deteriorated it didn't meet our operational standards. So we've replaced that well. It has passed its acceptance testing. Sarah and her team is doing a significant outreach in the area, and that is back online, and that is really good news for our Marietta customers. The last item I wanted to inform the board about is the Boxes of Hope program. So through Candy and our HR group and our Western Events and Wellness Committee, we teamed up with the City of Riverside Neighborhood Engagement Division, and we started collecting donations, both cash and product, from our staff. And our staff were great donators and really jumped in, and I love to see it from our staff. We were able to generate about $1,600 to create Boxes of Hope for senior citizens in the Riverside area. And so we're very proud of that effort. And I got a personal thank you from the city manager of Riverside for all of our efforts. So congratulations to our staff and our HR team for pulling that together. Moving on, that concludes my comments. Let's move on to item 2B. This is, you'll recall Mr. Ferre had previewed this at our last board meeting. There's been several items that have been asked for to move on to board meetings. So we're trying to clarify how to handle those items and where they go. And so we're not taking a vote today. We're just discussing about how these will be handled. So the first item that's been, Director Torres has brought up a couple of times, is a Public Water Advisory Committee. This is an item that was brought up, I think, a year and a half ago. I took this item to the exec committee. The exec committee elected not to move forward with it. So I informed Director Torres of that. She's brought it back again. So I'd like to have a discussion amongst the board members about how we want to handle this.
Okay, thank you, Craig. Appreciate that. Director Torres, did you want to tell us about your request?
Yes, thank you so much. I'm sorry, Craig. I don't remember you telling me that the executive committee had voted on that. That must have been a while ago since I was on the exec committee last year, and I'm on it this year. So I'm sorry if I don't remember that. I thought we were just waiting on more clarity. So what I want is to be able to get the members of our community, like you would in a MAC group, I'd probably use one or two staff members to give updates on things that are going on in Division 2. I had first officially asked for it to be service area wide, but Director Galliano mentioned that, that he doesn't have any customers, so it probably wouldn't work in his area. So seeing as to how I have 21,000 ratepayers, and which is the most, I would like to have basically a quarterly meeting where we talk about projects, talk about items that are coming in Division 2. Staff would set the agenda and probably have one or two staff members come and give either a presentation. I would absolutely attend, and I would select the committee. Let me know if you have any other questions aside from that. As you know, I don't have staff. I don't have an assistant or anybody to help me with these types of updates. Plus, as we said, most of the ratepayers are in this division, so it just makes sense to have some sort of committee, information committee that knows what's going on. So when an Orange Crest rates skyrocket for 2 months at the end of the year, there's somebody from that area that says, oh, this is why, because you guys people need to adjust their budgets, right? And that would be the goal of this. They wouldn't be a voting committee. It would be a more of like a congregation to congregate my division.
And if I may, Director Torres, these individuals and the number of them would be appointed or selected by you, and it wouldn't be something that this board would approve, or they wouldn't be somehow appointed by Western, so that there wouldn't be any concern later about whether somebody should or should not be on any longer or how long they're on it. This would be your appointment of particular members of the public that you could as well change from time to time.
Yes, sir.
Is that correct? Accurate?
Mm-hmm.
Any comments from any of the board members?
And if I may, Madam President, because this would involve some staff time, and this is something that would involve Western to assist in this, this would be something that would need to come back to the board for action. But I think, unless, and it's not up to me, but this would be the items outlined today would be sufficient from a legal point of view to then bring this back as an item for the board to vote on at the next meeting. And the only reason the boards are voting on it is because it does commit time and resources of the district, not a lot, but as part of this ongoing process. So what I'm saying is you wouldn't be voting on whether to do it today or not. Simply, this provides a Brown Act forum to talk about the outlines of what Director Torres has in mind to then bring back as part of the staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Ferre. I appreciate your point of clarity on that. I will go ahead just for a comment to the public. None of the board members have staff to be able to assist them with anything. So this is not something that is individually being kept from anybody. This is just something that we as a district do not afford to our board, because we are here on only a as needed basis to conduct policy setting for the district. It is not a full-time paid position for us as some other staff and things like the County Board of Supervisors has a complete staff, but they are full-time and they are salaried through their commitment and are expected to do that. We don't have those same luxuries, and we don't have that same budget to be able to afford that type of assistance. And in the past, all of the outreach that I have done with my customers, with our connections that are over 3,500 connections down here in the Marietta Division, these are my neighbors. I pay the bill along with them, and I communicate with them freely and openly all the time myself. So there certainly isn't anything that prevents you, Director Torres, from being able to engage with the public however you see fit in terms of the area in which you represent, because they did vote for you and they do know how to communicate with you and they do know your name and they have that recognition, just like I do down here with my customers. So as as general manager stated, Mr. Miller, this did actually go, in fact, to the executive committee. I believe it was Director Galliano and Director Stockton that at the time came back actually with a board comment that they didn't feel that this was a necessary item, and they did not support that direction moving forward for the district to commit those resources for an in particular division, is what I recall, unless Mr. Miller, I am having a fade of memory. That seems to be what the report was back from the exec committee at the time.
That's correct.
That's fine. I can go back and look at minutes because I think Craig and I spoke about this last February, and I happened to be on the executive committee at the time, so that's interesting. But no, I absolutely understand. This isn't an outreach effort. This is an information effort. At the engineering meeting, there is proposed development and infrastructure upgrades in my division, and I think that it would be a very important item to make sure that we outreach. If Western doesn't do it, of course I can do it, but like you just said, we don't have the luxury of having staff, and I also have a full-time job which I would like to consider is also important. And so while I understand, I also know that there are very important things that come through committees, even just updates that our residents aren't hearing or seeing. And that's what this would be for. No, it's not an outreach effort.
Director Denstedt, yeah, just to answer your question, this went to the executive committee with Directors Stockton and Galliano, and they did report that out. Director Torres did bring it back up to the board again, and I called her and asked her for what she had in mind for the committee so that we could potentially put together a board letter, and I never received any information from Director Torres. And then she brought it back as a request again to take it back to the board meeting. So I haven't received information from her. We're getting it now.
Thank you, Craig. No, and you're absolutely right. That's where I thought we stood. The pandemic happened, and I thought it would be something that could wait. So that's why I brought it back. So I'm glad that we're at least on the same page. That's the reason why you haven't heard back from me, is because of the pandemic.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other comments from any other board members on this, on Director Torres's item? Sorry.
Let me throw in just a thought, and maybe it would be helpful if the board doesn't support going forward exactly as requested. I know that Riverside City Council Member Condor, who represents Ward 4, which is the vast majority, if not all, of the portion of our Division 2 where the actual residential, actual ratepayers.
For the city, yes.
Yeah. And he was doing a meeting at least quarterly, and I think for a while it was monthly. Have you had any conversation with him about partnering with that and bringing information about what Western is doing and sharing that information and asking for feedback in that form? My guess is he would be very amenable to that. So he cares about those constituents as well.
Right, and of course, and for those that are not in his ward, that are in the unincorporated areas, I also try to attend the MAX, and
right.
We have an agenda item. I mean, I'm fine with that too, but no, this would be a separate director, mostly to get all the communities together, and like I said, in a convening or congregation to congregate, not but. That's my goal. But I will absolutely talk to him if my colleagues are not supportive of my efforts to outreach my customers, which will be disappointing. I'll make that that'll be my next resort. but yes, basically I attend. I didn't know that Chuck did that, but I do attend the Max and other groups. Actually, and from my end, yeah, you know, like I said, I haven't attended one of his. I will reach out, but otherwise, this is meant to be separate and specifically for water.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Well, and just for the new board members as well, we do hold a number of 411s.
Also brought by me.
And Director Torres, we've had supported that, and that is an effort that staff has taken on and has done an excellent job in reaching out to the public, which addresses all issues and doesn't focus particularly on your area, because we do have coordinating projects in other areas that do facilitate water delivery to the Division 2. So I'm just trying to inform our new board members that if they haven't had the opportunity to attend that, we do have what we call 411s, and those are town halls essentially that we represent all of our districts and all of our divisions within the district, and we incorporate all of the information that are going on with the projects, and we have a Q&A and an informational session, and we usually hold those on a quarterly basis throughout the year, and they generally have been held in the evening time to accommodate the folks' schedules. We have had a couple during the day, and we've had a couple during the evening time. So there are a number of efforts that have taken place, and yes, this was originally an item that was brought forward by Director Torres that we supported, and I just, you know, there's only so many resources that we have, and there are so many staff hours that we have, and at some point, then we have to start looking at how we're dividing those hours and what the value is of pushing that for having to hire additional staff in order to support additional efforts. So I don't know how much redundancy we'd like to do on an issue. I partner, and that's an excellent point, Director Gardner, that you brought up. I partner frequently with my council members down here in the city of Marietta and with the Chamber of Commerce and with different outreach groups in order to support Western's message and what it is that we're doing to support our Marietta customers. So I have frequently done that, and perhaps Director Torres, that might be an avenue that you can pursue as well to get some time with those particular groups so that you're hitting different boxes from different types and interests to be able to address those folks. Because at this point, I think staff are doing a great job doing outreach with the public, and I wouldn't be able to support an additional group without having to talk about additional staff resources and where we would find that member to be able to do that and support it. So that's kind of my comment, folks, and looking forward to comments from you.
I just want to clarify again that this isn't an outreach effort. This is for information, actual information. That the type of information that we see in committee, that's what this is for. It would be so they understand what is happening in their area. And I am happy to open it up to the service area. The Water 411s, I can tell you how they go are, hi, my name is Craig, and this is about PFAS, this is about how you get water, and thank you for coming. Very rarely do we hit the nitty gritty of what is going on in Western, and that's what I would like to tackle. And again, I'm very, very happy to share this effort with my colleagues. The only reason I am now focused on my division is because, again, Director Gardner made it very clear that this was not something he'd be interested in since he has no ratepayers. Not Director Gardner, excuse me, Director Galdiano, I saw your face there. Mike, I would absolutely like even partner with you, Mike, if this is something that is of interest to you, where we can, you know, you and I have been lately to the same meetings where you've seen that they really care about this issue. We just only get 5 minutes to talk to them about this. And I think they deserve more, and it doesn't need to be monthly. I'm fine with quarterly. But, you know, President Dunstad, I hope that we can have these conversations without you being offended, but, you know, I'm just advocating for my area. I'm not trying to do something that's hurting anybody. I'm not trying to hurt anybody. I'm trying to just advocate for my area so that they can get more information. This is not an outreach effort. This is not a Director Torres thing. This is for my customers. and which unfortunately I am not one. And so the only way I can understand them is to get them together to talk to me and then tell them so they can understand Western. And they can, so when they come and say, why is Western paying more than Eastern? Rather than having a condescending meeting and saying, come on, it's because you don't understand water. We say, hey, like, let's help you understand why. And let's talk about these things together so that so those types of things don't happen. That's all I want. I'm not trying to, hire a brand new staff member for me. That's not what I'm trying to do. I just want to advocate for my division, for the whole service area if possible. But if not, then I'm here to advocate for my division. This is something my constituents asked for on day one. And I apparently got shut down by the executive committee at the time. I didn't realize, or I don't remember that happening, but I'm not just asking for this. My constituents asked me for this amongst live streaming, amongst the town halls, which then aren't actual town halls. They're just quick information meetings. All those things that I bring up, I don't bring them up for myself. I bring them up because I am being asked for these things. They want to know more, and this is the way I believe that I can give them more. And I would absolutely appreciate your support. However I can assist staff in minimizing their time and efforts towards this, I will do it. If I have to set the agenda, I will. All I need is an expert to come in and give them the nitty gritty. That's all I'm asking for. And I hope that you can actually see that this is coming out of a good place. Like I know everything that you request comes out of. That's all I'm asking for. I'm not asking to hurt anybody. That's all I'm asking for. So if we can get past the personal part of it, and let's really talk about how to do what's right for the whole service area. I'll be focused on my division. Maybe if Mike Gardner would like to partner with me, so we can focus on our divisions. That's what's important to me.
And Director Torres, we appreciate that. And I am not taking offense to anything that you're advocating for your customers. I've done this for a number of years. We all run for office in order to take care of our customers and to take care of the issues and to address people and to be effective and efficient with our time and scheduling. So I understand and appreciate that. We all have commitments and we all have other things that are going on and engaging in. And if there is a different focus that you would like to see in these 411s, then that is certainly something that I would be willing to discuss somewhere down the road if that's what we'd like to do to focus our topic. But there comes a point in time where you saturate the field to so much information or information that isn't wanted or desired, and then you have a negative effect on it and it bounces back in the opposite direction. And so if we need to try to focus the 411 sessions to be a little bit more informational or to be topic based or to do it separately, I'm happy to have that conversation down the road if we'd like to have that, so that we're using the best, most effective and most efficient way in order to communicate with all of our customers, because all of the projects that we do in all of the area, in all of the division, in all of Western are pertinent to how we service all of our customers. So I would be supportive of that. I'm not supportive of generating a totally separate committee that you're appointing people, particularly for your division, in order to have discussions that you're not prohibited from having yourself at any point in time. And like I said, and like Mr. Director Gardner said, it's completely appropriate for you to partner with some of these others. That's what some of us have done in the past, and perhaps that would be a more effective way for you and a more efficient way, because they've already got established groups and established outreach. And whether you call them informational, whether you call them outreach, whether you call them engagement, they're all basically the same thing, and it's your content, and you'd have complete control over how you'd like to present that. So that's what my suggestion would be, and I won't be able to support a separate committee at this time.
Right. So, and I think for the purposes of the Brown Act, Madam President, and the right of all board members,
I was just going to say,
have items on the agenda. I think we'd have the outline of the proposal. Certainly that will be part of the staff report, and then we can have this full-fledged discussion at the meeting where there would actually be a vote on whether to proceed with it.
Right.
Okay, Mr. Frey, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Is there any other comments from any other directors and if they want to move this forward or not?
Yeah, and if I may, it's not an action by the board to move it forward. Each board member has a right to have the item on the agenda, but in order to talk about what's being proposed, that's the purpose of this discussion today.
Right. So whether everybody said, I don't like this, I can still get it on the agenda, right?
Yes.
Okay. Awesome. Good to hear. I would still like to move forward, President Benstead, if that pleases the board. Or not, apparently.
So, and we can you can certainly talk about this further, but there are two other requests that perhaps you would like Director Torres to flesh out as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Is there, just for clarity's sake, do I need to give a date on when I would like this or these items?
No. I mean, those are the details that you worked out if and when it's approved, as opposed to making that part of a motion and then having.
No. Yeah, I don't know if I needed to give better direction to staff, but so the virtual coffee, really what I wanted, it was to get the Orange Crest community. They seem to have things seem to have been better, but I don't mind letting that go, and I can host something myself. I understand Director Denstead's concern about staff time and having too many of these meetings. I understand those concerns, so I will. I'll plan something myself, and I just hope that I don't. I hope that the information I give is okay, and I don't. But I will talk to residents if there is. Maybe I can get with Craig on ensuring that the talking points and I'm giving them the correct information. But that's fine. So that's fine for that item. And I do have, I think. Sorry, I guess I'm a little distracted. There's been a hand up, and I don't want to hold this person up. So.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not. My computer died. I'm not on Zoom. What do you, board member has a hand up? We're past public comment.
No, there is a hand up by a member of the public, Craig, and we are past the point of public comments or action items where public comments would be received.
Well, this is an item on the agenda listed out, so I do think that we can take public comment on items listed on the agenda. We, in fact, received a public comment from a member of the public on this item earlier. So if there's an additional member of the public who wishes to make a public comment on this item, this will be appropriate time.
The general managers? Oh, I see, because it's on the agenda?
Well, and during the public comment, there was a member of the public who spoke about items on the agenda because she couldn't stay around for the rest of the meeting.
Oh, right.
So, and she did talk about particular items on the agenda. This is on the agenda by the very nature of the discussion that you're having right now. So since there's an item on the agenda, we're bringing it up. This would be appropriate for a member of the public who hasn't already spoken on these items to speak.
Okay, perhaps we could ask that person if they have what their comment might be the basis of, so we can find out exactly what it is that they're trying to speak to. I don't see the name on this. Can someone assist me?
I see Tisa Rodriguez. Tisa, are you still wishing to speak?
I am. The item I'm specifically wishing to speak to is the next one up, the resolution against sexual harassment in the workplace.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
That will be the time.
Okay, so I am wishing to speak in encouragement of asking the board to really take this up for consideration beyond just making a staff report, to really take it up as a vote. The women and men who have experienced this are not only people who are, people who are workers, but also people who are in our communities who have a right to have the transparency of knowing that they can go to work safely and without fear of reprisal, and that they can continue to do the work that they do. So many of the people in these instances are women who have worked in barrier-breaking careers, and they deserve to have a note, just to have an investigation of what is happening with them. And I honestly believe that Western Municipal would be remiss if it did not take affirmative action to support people who are not only workers, but members of their communities, members of their state, and other people who deserve the right to be heard and to have their concerns heard. I'd strongly encourage you all to do that. Director Torres is doing incredible work in supporting the people who are in her community and trying to provide them with this opportunity. And I want to encourage you all to back that request and to agree with her, because she has been a leader on a great many subjects, and we appreciate in the community her work.
Thank you for your comment. Director Torres, if you'd like to go ahead with this item. And
thank you. Thank you so much for the comments, both comments. I understand that this is not a conventional request that I am making, but now that I know what the purpose of this discussion is, I guess I don't want to do a back and forth, so I'll just be very clear. What I want is for Western to take, I understand that Western has strong harassment policies, awesome. But we, Martin Luther King said that budgets are a moral document. We pay Metropolitan Water District a lot of money to serve water, and they cannot serve water without their employees being safe and healthy. As a Met member, we are obligated to hold them accountable to what their management is doing. I don't know if on March 18th you saw the article of the gentleman in the desert area that hung himself because of what he had seen and the policies that had occurred. And that is not an agency that we, that is not a type of agency that we should be proud of supporting. We have to, of course, and we know that Metropolitan is doing what's best. I know that Don Galliano is representing us there with the most integrity, but without a strong stance against sexual harassment in the workplace and supporting survivors, we can't make it clear to Metropolitan that where we stand as a board of directors. We are very fortunate to be a woman-led board. Let's show that we support survivors and we believe them. I have been working in water now for almost a decade. I'm not part of those investigations, but I can tell you that this happens. I can tell you that this happens a lot. And so while I know that there's an investigation and I respect that needs to happen, I think as the young lady said, we would be remiss not to take a stance and not to ensure that we know that the people who are servicing our customers' water are taken care of and that they are safe at their workplace. I would still like this to come to the board, please. What I would like is a resolution that takes a strong stance against sexual harassment and supports survivors because of what's going on at Metropolitan Water District. So that's, now that I know we don't need to have a back and forth, I'm still requesting that this comes to the board.
And if I may, Madam President, I guess from a legal point of view, I'd recommend that Director Torres provide perhaps some points that she would like to address in that resolution, and then
I can absolutely do so.
And then have your Labor Council, Western's Labor Council, work with her to actually draft that so it gets the most effective as possible without going out off the whatever the guide rails might be on that. So,
thank you.
I have a question. I just have a real question. So there's an investigation going on. If we were to have this letter I just want to make sure that it doesn't affect us in return, saying that, their employee coming out of it said, they decided nothing bad could happen, and they instead sue us for defamation, our agency. So I just wanted to make sure it doesn't affect our agencies, because, at a lot of times I've worked in corporate, when there's an investigation going on, you do not say anything. So I just wanted to confirm that we are safe in when we go ahead and make something like that.
That's a good question, Fuzzy, and I want to be very clear. This is not condemning Metropolitan Water District. This is just taking a strong stance on sexual harassment and supporting survivors, period. This is not meant to condemn or admonish Metropolitan Water District. I hope that clears it up.
And I think that's a very good point, and why I would recommend this be run by your labor council. I perceive this from Director Torres as being much more general, not getting into any potential or pending personnel matters of any nature by Western Metropolitan or anybody else. Yes, that wouldn't be the appropriate topic for this type of a resolution.
Right.
But in order to give the support that Director Torres just mentioned, and just to be sure that we've addressed your concerns, Director Risby, by Western could have their labor council look at it and then go from there.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments from any other board members? Okay, seeing none. Moving on to director's reports.
All right, you want me to run through this, Director?
Absolutely, because I've got to look for my SAPA
All right.
summary.
Okay, well, your SAFA Commissioner report is first off.
I'm looking, hold on, I'm having trouble with my electronic devices today, so sorry.
Perhaps while we wait for Director Denstedt to find that, let me throw in something really quickly on the Chino Basin Water Master. Director Galliano mentioned court date, which is important, but they held a workshop yesterday on their proposed budget upcoming in exhaustive detail. In a little over 2 hours, they got through a little less than half the budget. And are coming back next week to see if they can't finish off the budget. It's about an $8.5 million budget in total, and it will ultimately be put to a vote. But they're going through line item by line item, discussing what the line item is and why it's there, and in some cases, why it's a legal requirement. The water master is a creature of the court, and so that puts them in a little different position than most other agencies, and they have to do some things other agencies don't. But it was a long 2+ hours of lots of detail on budget line items for the Chino Basin Water Master.
All right, thank you, Director Gardner. Director Denstedt, did you find your SAFA Commission meeting minutes?
I did, thank you. It was an extremely long SAPA meeting. We spent a lot of hours because of the PA agreements and the committees before and after. So it was a very long day. I apologize. I needed to refresh my memory on this whole event, but a lot of the workshops that took place with the PAs were on budgetary items and moving forward with those issues. We did cover and review and discuss the draft of the budget. Those should be coming back here at the next couple of SAPA Commission meetings to put those pieces all together. I would encourage finance staff, if you haven't seen those components all put together, that they should be sending them over and have that discussion, and let me know if there's any items of concern on the budget for SAPA. We did in fact have a discussion, and it was approved to go out and do a grant application to further investigate the weather modification. My concern, just like I have presented at this board prior, has been that during this weather modification, what is the nexus of benefit to our customers in particular? I was very pleased to hear, since my colleague, Mr. Gardner, was not on the initial discussions, he had insight from his prior employment and gave us some benefit of his knowledge and experience in regard to his program prior. And I believe that that was very useful and very helpful information. So I thank you for your attendance, Mr. Gardner, and your comments were well taken. And I am in support of staff going out from SAPA to seek a grant opportunity to support this, because I'm not sure that I understand fully how this benefits Western customers, and if there is a nexus of benefit for the amount of money that would be spent on this, because it's not just a little drop in the bucket, it is a significant amount of money over a period of time. So I want to make sure that we get our due on that before we expend any money. And I think that is about the sum of the high notes in that. There were some additional reports, and unless I missed something, gentlemen, feel free to chime in if I've missed a high point.
No, that you summarized 4 hours of meetings. It was a long morning yesterday. Thank you, Director. We heard Director Galeano report out on MET, and Director Galeano and Director Gardner on Chino Basin. That moves us down to the Chino DeSalter Authority. Director Torres?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So Chino DeSalter Authority, we approved an amended employment agreement with Thomas O'Neill. There, we approved clarifying solids transport agreements. And then the South Archibald Plume Cleanup Project, we approved a contract as well as a consultant for that project.
All right, thank you. A report from RCRA, Director Rizvi.
Nothing. We meet April 22nd.
Thank you, Director.
That's Thursday.
Thank you. All right. Report from WRCOG.
Yes, WRCOG had a meeting on Monday. We discussed a number of items. There was a very, very, very long closed session item in regard to some litigation that is active currently with WRCOG. And there were a number of discussion items on there and some partnering on a variety of different initiatives. There's the Housing Trust Initiative that will be coming forward. And then there's still discussion over the economic development component, and there was some conversation over the economic development and sustainability framework, which water and wastewater are a part of that. So those are still active. Because we had such a long closed session, it lasted for over an hour, I elected to go ahead, because the length of the meeting, to pull our presentation and defer that to the following meeting in the interest of time. So hopefully we will get on the next agenda to be able to produce Western's informational items to the WRCOG members. And with that, Mr. Miller, I am concluding my comments, and Sarah has a meeting next week.
Okay, thank you. That moves us on to director comments. Director Rizvi, would you like to go first?
Yeah, no comments. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Director Gardner.
Just a happy birthday and congratulations to Director Torres. She has a birthday coming up next week.
Thank you.
Director Torres, any rebuttal about the birthday?
I just don't ask me my age.
Any comments today?
Oh yeah, my turn. Thank you, Director Gardner. That was very kind of you. No comments today. I want to thank the board members that supported me in my outreach efforts for this hearing. I know it's probably super annoying, but I do it out of a good place, and I do appreciate your support in that. So thank you all. And I do want to just be very clear that I know the staff is working incredibly hard, and that your work is difficult. And while I know it sounds like I am unappreciative, that is not the case. I appreciate every single one of you, and the efforts and the work that you're doing. And I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge that I know how hard you're working and for our customers in every aspect, and especially for this rate hearing, from the outreach all the way to adjusting the structure in order to help the customers. That is all very important work, and I do appreciate all of it.
Director Denstead, any comments?
Thank you. I don't have any comments today. Thank you.
Okay, next item, B9, is request for future agenda items. Any requests today? Okay, hearing none, that moves us to item 9 on the agenda, which are the informational items. Staff doesn't have any presentation on those items. Happy to answer any questions from the board. Item 10 is closed session. We do have a closed session today. So, Mr. Frey, could you read us off into closed session?
Certainly, at this time, I just recommend the board go into closed session under 54957.6, conference with labor negotiators with the designated representative and organizations as listed. And I will defer to your special labor counsel as to whether there's any reportable action thereafter.
All right, thank you, Mr. Frey. Let's take a 5-minute break, and we'll start the closed session at noon.
Thank you.
Tammy, this is Mike.
Thank you, everybody.
Yes, Mike.
I do not see our labor counsel on Zoom. Is he in person today?
No, he is on Zoom under Bradley.
Bradley. Oh, sorry. People are dropping off. It's hard to see the names. I'll get it right.
Thank you.
that right?
Yes.
All right, you're in control now.
Mike, just let me know when we're back in open session.
Everyone, there's no one else in the waiting room. It appears most of our participants that were public and et cetera, and other staff dropped off. So you have your full attendees in session now.
I think Tammy needs to take roll.
Yes, Tammy needs to take roll first.
Thank you, President Denstedt. Director Galliano.
Tammy, I think you're muted.
We're going to try again. Thank you. Director Galliano. Director Rizvi.
Here.
Director Gardner.
I am here.
Thank you. Director Torres.
Here.
President Denstedt.
I am present. Thank you.
President Denstedt, you have a quorum.
Thank you very much. This time we will defer to legal counsel for a report out of closed session.
Thank you, President. There is no reportable action on either item from the just concluded closed sessions.
Thank you very much. Okay, at this time, seeing no further business before this board on today's date, we will go ahead and adjourn to our next regularly scheduled meeting, which is on April the 21st. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye.